If you want to delete people like this, then I can help. In this video, we will be talking about the mechanical part of how to use angles to your advantage, such as when to hug the cover before peeking versus when not to. We will go over different kinds of peeking and overall tips on how to get better in it. It is always better off to put yourself in an advantageous position. And if you're interested in that, I'm an official Rainbow Six coach on MetaFi page, among just the other 5 pro players. And if you're looking for a team or just want to talk about Siege, hop on to my Discord server. Links can be found in the comment section. Numero 1 is crosshair placement. In a one-shot headshot game, most of the gunfights don't last more than a second. They either end up with someone getting killed or someone running away, but the gunfights themselves are very quick. This means that if you start shooting them at the body level, it will take at least 5 to 10 extra shots to finish them off. Whereas if you manage to shoot them in the head, that's a round over. Firing extra 5 to 10 shots is a lot when the gunfight lasts for a short period of time. And that is exactly why Bandit was destroyed in the introduction clip. Crosshair placement may seem too easy of a topic, but a lot of people have issues with it when it comes to the vertical angles. But to that in a bit. If you're struggling, or don't know how to practice your crosshair placement on a head level. This is head level, this line. There's just 2 of these on each barricade, so it's hard to forget. Now let's see this example. What do you think? Am I aiming at the head level or not? Against anyone that tries to get on the top of the Y stairs on game's rotation. Let's test it out with the barricade now. What about the reverse angle? Where is the head level on this barricade? You see, it's not as trivial, and this is all down to practice. Now pair that up with the rooms that have elevated surface such as on border. If it is a 1 versus 1 and you're an attacker coming from supply. This example was taken from an actual game. Then there is no reason for someone to be proning there, as their body will be visible before the attacker will be able to see them due to their feet. We'll talk about this in angles in a bit. What you need to expect is someone to be onto the desk or near the rotation, and that will screw up the attacker's crosshair placement if they are on the desk. This is extremely hard to master, and it's a very important aspect that I take into the consideration when I do MetaFi VOD reviews, especially when high ranks such as Diamond 1s or Zeus send a message. For the basics, playing T-Hunt and continuously having the vertical angles in mind will help you with the crosshair placement. Okay, T-Hunt or aim trainers? Yes or no? Huge yes for the new players, and anyone that struggles with basics being done, such as flicking, tracing heads, targets, and similar. On the other hand, they are good as a warm-up, and don't enter into a trap where you play more aim trainers rather than the game. Nothing beats up the solo queue experience. Shooting bubbles is different than shooting people, especially in games like Siege where not every gunfight is ended up by shooting the head. One more thing, if you end up in a situation that you have to flick a lot, it's better to ask yourself, why are you ending up in this situation, rather than asking why I didn't flick properly. If you're flicking too much, that's either you want to make a YouTube video, or B, you have a very bad game sense. Flicking is needed, but too much flicking is a moment to start thinking about why did you end up in these situations. Let's see how to abuse angles in your favor. And the main thing is leaning correctly. What do you think is the correct way of leaning? What about this one? Both of the answers are no, and let's see why. An easy way. Perspectives are the same as in real life. As ridiculous as it sounds, you will not see things behind the wall. So leaning helps there. Prone angles are equivalent to things underneath your bed. Upside down rappel is like trying to look underneath on an upper kitchen cabinet. When you're thinking about leaning, you need to think about where the enemy will appear. If the enemy is coming from the left side, that means he's running towards the right, then you should generally lean on the right side. So assuming this Alibi Priest is a defender, and I'm an attacker. Since Alibi is on my left side, that means she's going to the right, so I will lean to the right side. This all is the same thing for the reverse situations, like leaning on the left side. For the repelled angles, all that you need to know is if defender is proning. they will see you before you see them. If they're crouching, you will see each other at the same time.
All friendlies were eliminated. Mission.
And if they're staying or running in the most situations, you will see them before they see you. This is all if rappelling upside down. A big breakdown of rappelling guide can be found in the top right corner. We'll talk about hugging versus not hugging walls later in a bit. Let's talk about peeking, and there are different kinds of peeking. Let me ask you, which of the holding angles leads to more aggressive peeking? Holding passive angles or holding aggressive angles? This is something that a lot of creators forget to mention when talking about this topic when they talk about how you should be aggressive due to the peeker's advantage. When you're holding a passive angle, something like this, you're being more aggressive than when you're holding a wider angle. The reason why holding passive leads to more aggression is that you're using sound cues for the attackers to get in the middle of the room or hallway, and then you pre-fire them. Holding passive angles allows you not to only be super safe, especially when holding flanks and not with a drone as an attacker, but also allows you to pick the enemy. This is the main reason why holding passive angles is recommended to be used over the aggressive angles. Let's talk about holding pixel angles. And can you tell me how am I dying even if I'm holding a pixel angle? And I can't see them.
All friendlies were eliminated. Mission failure.
Holding pixel angles is just for one reason, and that is not for getting kills through them, unless again you're doing YouTube videos. Holding pixel angles is done only for the information, and that information can be used for two things. The first reason is to wide swing the enemy and pre-fire them. The second reason is to fall back to passive angle or somewhere else and call that information. Holding the pixel angle when someone crosses can be dangerous because of the example at the very start. Why did I die even if I held the pixel angle and I couldn't see the enemy? So if I'm holding from this side of the angle, anyone coming from the left side will see me before I see them, since they are further away from the cover that is between me and him. You cannot go that much back, so you are at a disadvantage. So if anyone crosses your pixel angle, be mindful if you still want to hold that angle. Speaking about covers. In a lot of situations, you do not want to hug the cover before peeking, but there is a mini rule when to hug the cover before peeking. That is, if an enemy is calling an angle on you. It will give you slightly but enough advantage that their crosshair, if placed on your head, that they will be shooting at the blank spot. So why is that? The further away you are from the opponent, the slower they move. So if they have a close angle on you, and they can miss one bullet, since you're slightly quicker, they will have a slightly bit harder time killing you. Whereas if you're slightly further away, if they miss one bullet, most likely the second one will connect. Speaking about the speed of the operators, if you want to have bigger opponents, then stretching your screen is the way. Stretch with FOV, not aspect ratio. People got used to stretching their horizontal FOV by aspect ratio because of the games like CSGO. I have explained how to make your aspect ratio in a video that you can also find in the top right corner. Quick peek. There are two ways of quick peeking, and what I'm doing right now in the slow-mo is not it. There is Shaiko quick peek and the normal quick peek. Shaiko quick peek looks cooler, but realistically, if you do both quick peeks perfectly, there's low to no difference between them. Shaiko quick peek is lean and strafe at the same time. Lean on the opposite direction, and lean again on the opposite direction, and strafe on the opposite side at the same time. Quick peeking is lean and strafe at the same time, and then unlean and strafe back to the cover. Ending your quick peek process by leaning on the opposite side makes you vulnerable to any defender that is actively pushing you since you are leaning on the opposite direction for a half a second. Do not quick peek at anyone that is on known position. If you have intel that someone is in this corner, wide peek them, pre-firing. And the final tip. If you have peeked an angle and you have no other option but to re-peek, like you want to deny them rappelling in or pushing in the hallway, then do it by either hugging the door and wide peek or change the stance and peek them. Or you can try to make melee holes, but they most likely will be able to see you making the melee holes. Prone only in super specific situations, generally do not. Keep in mind that when I said don't prone when you want to re-peek, I actually mean don't prone when you're going to re-peek. But if you want to prone and hold the angle, like from a blind spot, then go for it.
Got him. Nice.
One guy's below in kitchen.
Drone? I can drone.
A general rule of thumb is as a defender, keep your fights from medium to short range, whereas as an attacker, keep them at the medium to long range. Using Zofia to deny flanks from long angles is a great way to use her.
A joystick off the board early, and Dan gets that revenge, but Sloth meets that meter and finds the refrag very quickly. An important
Having said that, Taker versus Shotgun in CQB is usually a win for the Shotgun, so don't pick at them without utility like flashbangs, smoke grenades or similar.